Excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that. Hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow, honestly.
Remember when the Indiana Fever only won 5 games 2 seasons ago? Well, things have changed fast. In just a couple of years, their generational talent, Caitlin Clark, asked for star power, and the Fever's new front office responded with a game-changing slam dunk.
Quick thoughts on the $80 million Fever facility and Stephanie White being like, we're going to be aggressive in free agency, and massive names who are available. And I think, this is my bold prediction, the Indiana Fever are going to be playing for the WNBA title next year. Wow. They have their cornerstone pieces under rookie contract.
In a move that sent shockwaves through the WNBA, Indiana didn't just sign 1 or 2, they signed 3 star players. This isn't a rebuild anymore. It's a full-blown basketball revolution, propelling the Fever into instant title contenders. Want to know who these game changers are and how they fit into Indiana's grand plan? This isn't just a roster upgrade. It's a total transformation that's got the rest of the WNBA scrambling. Are you ready? Let's dive in.
Are big name veteran pieces that the Fever have money to go get to put them in position to be playing for a WNBA title. That's my bold prediction.
Let's rewind to when the Indiana Fever were the laughingstock of the WNBA. It wasn't that long ago, just 2 seasons ago, they hit rock bottom with a painful 5 wins. It felt like they were trapped in an endless cycle of losing, but then something changed. The Fever started making moves that turned heads across the league.
I felt this way to begin with, that the Fever were going to be a destination because you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aaliyah Boston, and you have a really, really young team. And I think now with Steph White, who is hands down one of the best coaches in the league, and we saw that with Connecticut, even though they fell a little bit short, I think that, this is going to...
First, they drafted Aaliyah Boston with the first overall pick in 2023, a generational center in her own right. Yet, despite her talents, the Fever still finished with a disappointing 13-27 record. But in 2024, they struck again, selecting Caitlin Clark, the once-in-a-lifetime phenom who took the WNBA by storm. Her impact was immediate and electrifying. She averaged 19.2 points per game in her first season and broke 62 records, showcasing her ability to score and make plays like a seasoned pro. But even a generational talent like Clark couldn't do it alone. She needed help.
In a position where you can add some pieces.
Yes, we are. We're definitely in a position, and I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play.
That's where the Fever's core of Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull stepped up. As they started to gel, the Fever weren't pushovers anymore. Teams couldn't just walk into Indiana expecting an easy win. These young stars were hungry and ready to prove themselves. Last season, they shocked everyone by fighting their way into the playoffs with a 2020 record, marking their first playoff appearance in nearly a decade. But for Caitlin Clark, it wasn't enough. She wanted more. She knew the Fever had the potential to be great, not just good.
I see a lot of players wanting to go, in this offseason, a lot of players are going to want to go to the Fever.
So what did Clark do? She went straight to the front office and asked for quality free agents. And let me tell you, the new management team of President Kelly Koff and GM Amber Cox didn't just listen, they delivered big time. The Fever had 4 main priorities this offseason. First, they needed to re-sign Kelsey Mitchell at all costs. She'd been the heart and soul of the team over the past few years, averaging 19.2 points per game last season. Second, they wanted versatile wings who could score and defend, giving Clark and Mitchell some extra firepower. Third, they needed to beef up the forward position with size and defensive-minded players who could run the floor and score when needed. And finally, they were looking for a backup guard to run the offense when Clark or Mitchell needed a breather.
Quality depth is going to be important. When you have a core 3 like we have, surrounding them with players who are going to, fill the roles, certainly, first and foremost, who are going to embrace the roles, secondly, and who give us the best opportunities for success by complementing what they do really, really well.
Now the stage is set for a transformation that's about to shake the WNBA to its core. The Fever aren't just looking to make the playoffs again, they're aiming for the top, with Clark setting the WNBA rookie assist record and showcasing her dual threat ability as both a scorer and facilitator. The pieces are falling into place for something truly special in Indiana. So, who are these 3 perfect signings that the Fever's front office promised Caitlin Clark? Well, they didn't just deliver, they nailed it. Let's talk about the masterstroke that sent shockwaves through the WNBA. Picture this: a 3-time champion, an all-star, and a Defensive Player of the Year, all rolled into one. That's exactly what Indiana got when they signed Natasha Howard.
So outstanding in the pick and roll. She is a floor spacer, and she brings experience. The Indiana Fever made the playoffs last year for the first time since 2016. And in that first game, none of their starters had any playoff experience. Natasha Howard has over 50 games of playoff experience, 3-time WNBA champion. She fits them beautifully.
Now, some folks were skeptical. They wondered if Howard at 33 still had what it takes to be a game changer. But those doubters clearly haven't been paying attention. Last season with the Dallas Wings, Howard was putting up monster numbers. We're talking 17.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.9 assists per game. And she did it while shooting a blistering 45.6% from the field. That's not just good, that's elite. But here's where it gets really interesting. Howard isn't just a scoring machine, she's a defensive juggernaut. Remember when she won Defensive Player of the Year back in 2019? Well, she hasn't slowed down one bit. Howard's the kind of player who can lock down the paint and still have the energy to run the floor on fast breaks. It's like having a Swiss Army knife on the court. She can do it all.
Last season, they had 0 playoff experience from their starting 5. Howard brings playoff experience. She's won 3 championships with both Minnesota and Seattle. So to me, she's a huge...
And let's not forget about her championship pedigree. Howard's got 3 WNBA titles under her belt, and she knows what it takes to win when the pressure's on. That kind of experience is priceless, especially for a young team like the Fever. In fact, she has more playoff experience than the entire Fever roster combined. You can bet she'll be in Caitlin Clark's ear, sharing all those championship secrets. But wait, there's more. Howard's not just a defensive specialist. She can stretch the floor with her 3-point shooting. Are you ready to see what happens when one of the league's best defenders starts draining threes? It's going to open up a whole new dimension for the Fever's offense. Imagine Aaliyah Boston feasting in the paint, while Howard, Clark, and Hull keep defenders honest on the perimeter. It's a nightmare scenario for opposing teams. Speaking of Boston, Howard's presence is going to be huge for...
Why does everybody hate Caitlin Clark? And do you hate Caitlin Clark? Come on, talk
dude.
to me.
Absolutely not. I think that she's a gem. I didn't know her, but All-Star Weekend, we kind of bantered back and forth a little bit. And she's lovely. She has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. And I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day.
Her development. Boston's already a force to be reckoned with, but now she's got a veteran mentor to learn from. The 2 of them together, that's a front court that's going to give the rest of the league sleepless nights. But the real magic of this signing is how it transforms the entire Fever team. Howard isn't just filling a need, she's changing the whole identity of this squad. With her on the court, Indiana isn't just a team with a bright future. They're a team that's ready to win now. Just when you thought the Fever were done making moves, they pulled off a trade that left the WNBA world stunned. Picture this. Nalissa Smith, once considered the future of Indiana's front court, suddenly on her way out, along with the 8th pick in the 2025 draft. Fans were confused. What were they thinking? Then the other shoe dropped. In return, the Fever got Sophie Cunningham and the 19th pick. But was it worth it? Let's break down Cunningham. She's not just a player, she's a force of nature on the court. A versatile wing who can score, defend, and light it up from beyond the arc. Ready for this? Cunningham shot a blistering 37.8% from 3-point range last season. That's the kind of sharp shooting that can turn a good team into a great one. Interview 13. But here's where it gets really interesting. Cunningham isn't just about putting points on the board. She's known as an enforcer, the kind of player who makes opponents think twice before driving to the basket. Remember how we said the Fever needed someone who could rough it up in the paint? Well, they just got her. Now, imagine Cunningham and Howard on the court together. Suddenly, no one's pushing the Fever around anymore. It's like Indiana went from being the nice kid on the playground to the one everyone's a little scared of. And that's exactly what they needed. Interview 14. But let's not forget about the numbers. Cunningham averaged 8.4 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 2.0 assists per game last season. Those stats might not jump off the page at first glance, but they tell the story of a player who can do a little bit of everything. And that's exactly what the Fever were looking for.
What is that? It might not be from you, but like, what is I mean, it feels it's not hate, but is it jealousy? Is it envy? Is it just like, what is it?
Yeah, I see both sides. I'm not an extremist in any way. Yeah. And so I like to see both sides of each party. I think when you have older people in the league, they work their tails off and they didn't get the recognition. They don't get paid millions of dollars before they even step on the court. You know what I mean? And for them, it's all about, okay, well, what are your stats? What are you doing for the actual game? Like, while you're playing.
Yeah.
And then it's amazing for women's basketball. This is amazing for women's sports in general. You have so many people, so many new and fresh eyes on our sport that maybe they're a little uneducated and maybe they kind of stir the pot a little bit. And so I get that. But for that.
Now, some folks might be scratching their heads about giving up Smith and that 8th pick. But here's the thing. Smith had a down year in 2024, barely seeing action in the final games of the season. And with Howard's arrival, there was a bit of a logjam at the forward position. Sometimes you have to give up something good to get something great. And great is exactly what the Fever are getting. This trade isn't just about talent, it's about changing the entire culture of the team. The Fever are sending a message loud and clear. They're not here to just compete. They're here to win, and they're willing to make bold moves to make it happen. Give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to handle when you're that young and have so many eyes on you. But they've done a great job in the league. The physicality, they'll get used to it, no doubt. But especially Caitlin Clark, she's been...
Give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to. But I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it. And I'm a huge fan, and I never say that. But I think it's fun what she's doing. When it comes to viewership, man, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn about our league, but I think that's a really fun thing. And if you have really anything negative to say about all the viewership and everything that this rookie class is doing, I just think that you're not capitalizing on it and you might be a little jealous. So for me, I'm all for it. I'm about it. I love all
killing it. I'm a huge fan, and I don't say that often. What she's doing is fun to watch. When it comes to viewership, I think a lot of people still have a lot to learn about our league, but that's a good thing. If anyone's got something negative to say about all the viewership and what this rookie class is doing, I honestly think they're just not capitalizing on it, or maybe they're a little jealous. For me, I'm all for it. I'm loving all this attention. So what does this mean for the Fever's championship chances? Let's just say, things are looking up. With Clark running the show, Boston dominating the paint, Howard bringing that championship experience, and now Cunningham adding toughness and versatility, Indiana's suddenly looking like a team that can beat you in a whole lot of ways. With all these new faces joining the Fever, you might be wondering about the glue that's held.
Excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that. Hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow, honestly.
Remember when the Indiana Fever only won 5 games 2 seasons ago? Well, things have changed fast. In just a couple of years, their generational talent Caitlin Clark asked for star power, and the Fever's new front office responded with a game-changing slam dunk.
Quick thoughts on the $80 million Fever facility and Stephanie White being like, we're going to be aggressive in free agency, and massive names who are available. And I think, this is my bold prediction, the Indiana Fever are going to be playing for the WNBA title next year. Wow. They have their cornerstone pieces under rookie contract.
In a move that sent shockwaves through the WNBA, Indiana didn't just sign 1 or 2, they signed 3 star players. This isn't a rebuild anymore. It's a full-blown basketball revolution, propelling the Fever into instant title contenders. Want to know who these game changers are and how they fit into Indiana's grand plan? This isn't just a roster upgrade. It's a total transformation that's got the rest of the WNBA scrambling. Are you ready? Let's dive in.
Are big name veteran pieces that the Fever have money to go get to put them in position to be playing for a WNBA title. That's my bold prediction.
Let's rewind to when the Indiana Fever were the laughingstock of the WNBA. It wasn't that long ago, just 2 seasons ago, they hit rock bottom with a painful 5 wins. It felt like they were trapped in an endless cycle of losing, but then something changed. The Fever started making moves that turned heads across the league.
I felt this way to begin with, that the Fever were going to be a destination because you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aaliyah Boston, and you have a really, really young team. And I think now with Steph White, who is hands down one of the best coaches in the league, and we saw that with Connecticut, even though they fell a little bit short. I think that, this is going to...
First, they drafted Aaliyah Boston with the first overall pick in 2023, a generational center in her own right. Yet, despite her talents, the Fever still finished with a disappointing 13-27 record. But in 2024, they struck again.